And the beautiful water, I want it to be very blue. Like, I want a lot of blue reflections, and so the only way to do that is to first have blue reflection or blue sky, so you have something to reflect in the water, if that makes any sense, which it probably doesn't, and that's okay. Our horizon's going to be extremely high. We'll probably sketch that out here in just a minute. There, just finishing up our quick sketch. You can see my trees there, some evergreens and regular leaf trees, and these will all be kind of in autumn colors in the background, at least the ones that are not the evergreens will. Now, you may be really concerned, and I'm a little bit concerned too. I've got the horizon really high, but that's the plan. We'll see if it works out. This is not usually the easiest way to go. You have to detail out the foreground big time for this to work. So because these are much bigger, it'll help us create some depth here. So hopefully that'll all work out. I'll show you how to make it all work out. But normally I like my horizons down about 1/3 and then 2/3 for everything else on the top. All right, now with that huge explanation out of the way, let's go ahead and get some yellow, white, red, whatever. And let's go ahead and begin filling in kind of what we planned out doing. When you're painting the autumn colors, autumn colored paintings, you'll find the biggest issue is when your blues, like this, kind of go into your whites and then they kind of make it over into your yellow. You know, it all can kind of become one mushy blue-gray color if you're not careful. So we will just watch for that. We want our colors to be vibrant. All right, we'll just fill all these in nice and soft in the background. You can always make them a little darker and more rich in color as you come a little bit closer. Well, I'm finishing up here, adding in some dark tones, just purples, and now I'm going with a little green, black even, right on the underside. Now you are probably, if you've never really watched much of my painting videos, you're probably about ready to change the next video. Don't go anywhere just yet. Because we might be able to save it, you never know. All right, there we go. Let's put that brush down. And I'm going to grab a shop towel, crumple it up. Starting in the lightest areas, I'm going to remove all of this paint because none of it is going to actually be beneficial to the painting. So starting in the light areas, oh, there's so much paint. There's probably, you could probably tell in the camera there's a massive amount of texture. All of that needs to come off. Now you could either lay a whole bunch of them up here and just stick them on there and then peel them off, or you can just simply blot it. If I did a good job painting those, I would, do the first way, but because I did a very sloppy job on purpose because I knew I was going to do this, I'm just doing it this way. Hope that makes some amount of sense. Yeah, look, you might as well have fun. And techniques like this are fun. They're just simply fun. You might as well have fun. So do these interesting techniques in addition to some of the more, careful techniques. There. So now I'm going to take some yellow, a little green, white, and whatever else sneaks in is just perfectly welcome. Let's get up here and paint in our grass. And this grass, it's not really that big of a deal. We're going to do kind of the way we always do it. Just smoosh in some color like this. Our light today is coming across like that, from the right going to the left. Yeah, I think that's going to be fine. It's just, like I said, not that big of a deal. It's there. It's great. Might as well do it well. If you're going to do it, you might as well make it look decent. But not really by any means the feature of the painting, this grass back here. But it sets us up nicely for just other things like, like reflections and just the more you add up here, the more you can add to the water. All right, good enough. Long explanation over. How about let's go ahead and get in here with a little bit more of our umber and some of our other kind of rusty colors. Let's get us a little like dry grass or something, just like right along the edge. This is, autumn time, so maybe we see a little of that dry grass color along the edge. I think that is decent. We can work with something like that. Yep. Great. Perfect. No, not even close. But I do believe that it kind of gets us somewhere that we want to be. That's okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. So anyway, we'll just work around using these colors some more. But let me show you the interesting part, which is the fan brush. We've got to use the fan brush, actually just a clean fan brush. And I'll set down my palette and get a paper towel in the other hand. So this way we can go ahead and fluff the grass I like to start here in the back. You could just certainly start in just whatever the lightest area is and work away. The reason is we don't care if the dark areas get a little darker, but we don't want our light areas to get any darker at all, right? That wouldn't make sense. Well, that's pretty. This is a technique you can use on any kind of farmland or any kind of meadow, mountain meadow, anything like that. This is the technique for you. Oh, it's easy, and you get a nice result. In fact, I think we show it in Spring Melt. It's a DVD I filmed quite a bit ago, but I think it shows this technique in a lot of detail. I don't know why that came to mind of all things, but it did, so there you go. Sometimes stuff just comes to mind. Yes. Oh yeah, look at that. Take some of that dark and move it over there. Why not? You can have all sorts of different quick and easy access to, to shadows and highlights just by doing that. So now we're going to take some black and some green. Blue would actually be very nice. We're making evergreens. The blue kind of helps. I think it separates it a little. And let's start here with our background evergreens. You can certainly paint evergreens just tons of different ways. And all the ways seem to kind of work. Today I think I'm just going to drop them in fairly loosely. Maybe we'll drop them in loosely and then come back and detail them up. That's one of my favorite ways. What do you think? I think it's cool. I think it works. And what I like is that you get a better, more irregular result when you're able to throw them in quick and then go back and detail them. At least I think so. It's my new, well, not necessarily new, but it's been recently my favorite method. Lots of other good methods though. Use what works for you. That's the thing when you paint. Use what works for you. Everybody's different. And that is really kind of partly what makes painting fun. Hey, before we go too much further, speaking of what makes painting fun, we should look at the paintings that you guys did of my last one. It's always fun to see them. So definitely use the hashtag on your screen and share your versions of what I'm doing here today. And then, I know it's not a lot of time, but if you can get them done quick enough, I'll stick them in the next video. And that'll be super fun. If not, it's fun to do it anyways. There. Actually, that one, I don't want that tree to go too far down. I think it came a little too far down, so I was just going to take that and mush it right into the grass, which is a great and easy way to kind of fix that, isn't it? Cool. Maybe just mush that all together. There we go. That works. So I was planning to use the detail round, and I still may, but I ended up kind of enjoying using the filbert brush to detail out the edges of my evergreen trees. I think it really works. There's just so many ways. You can do evergreen trees so many ways, and that is one of the things I think is so much fun about them. I'm going to really be excited to see them contrasted against our final trees, which we'll have to do around them. We might mess these evergreens up just a little, and that's okay. It's not really gonna matter, is it? It just doesn't matter. There. Okay. So just thought I'd show you that the filbert brush is what I'm using today to get these little nice soft and detailed shapes along the actual branches of the trees. Again, it's done the same way though. You rub the tree in really quick, and you, just like you would with a detail brush, you get in here and just work on the edges, make it more refined, make sure you're not putting any symmetry in. That's something that's really, really easy to do. So easy to get the symmetry in your paintings. Avoid that, make it very irregular as much as you can, which for some people is definitely a hard task. It's worth, practicing if you're somebody that likes to line things up, make everything perfect, which is just different personality. Then maybe you especially should practice being messy. The messier evergreens tend to be the better ones, or trees really in general, landscapes. There you go. At least that's my thought. So now we're going to tap on just some highlight to the trees. Very straightforward. You can tap, or you could slide, or you could do a combination of both. I'm going to go a little bit slow just to get myself a nice delicate look here. I mean, we're going to spend some amount of time, focusing detail here toward the middle. So we'll make sure we get it reasonably decent. It doesn't need to be in any way perfect. We'll get it reasonably decent. The only reason this is possible is because we wiped off the canvas a little bit ago. Mud is not fun. I think mud is probably the single biggest frustration for anybody starting oil painting. And I understand. I mean, it's discouraging sometimes when things just go muddy, because let's face it, when they do go muddy, it's hard to stop. You know, things go worse and worse and worse, but you don't have to worry about it. You just have to wipe off the background. It's the secret. There's a secret to it. And that's the secret right there. It's very straightforward once you know how to do it, but before you know how to do it, oh, what a mess. You certainly could thin down the paint. You know, people often do that when they're painting oils all in one day. They thin the paint down, which is fine. It does get you to a similar result. I mean, the paint will stick. Trouble is, if you want to go to make any kind of adjustments or add any kind of accent highlight, which you should be adding accent highlight if you're not doing it already, things then will go to mud. So you're way better off just wiping off that canvas anytime you think you might start to make mud. And that's the way I would do it, at least. Not that that's saying much, but you know, at least there you go. All right, wow, I am rambling today, but isn't this pretty? I think this works. Simple but decent. Nothing crazy, and I like that. I think it works, and I think it's going to allow us to focus in on the water, and it's definitely going to allow us to pull some of these pretty colors down into the water. Once we're done with this yellow, I'll probably do one more pass the same way, just with my orange tones. There you have it. Pretty simple, but pretty effective. The filbert brush is getting a lot of use today. That's cool. It's a great brush. So now I'm going to take my detail round brush and let's just get a little bit of purple. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and work on painting in a couple of birch trees. Now these birch trees, oh, that's pretty, are really, in my mind, going to be one of the features of the painting. So often we'll paint birch trees and it won't be a blue sky, it'll be a sunset, and you end up with yellow birch trees, and that's correct, that's great. But today, blue sky, they're going to be pretty much white birch trees. I know I tinted it with a little purple, but that's just because it's a shadow. We need to have something in there to show that it is indeed a shadow. Nice, look at that. It's okay to kind of jump around and leave little spots open. It just makes them look like they're pushed into the forest without you having to do anything. Super easy. Super fun. All right, right up in here. A couple more. Oh, look at that. By going extremely light pressure on that brush, you're able to get this kind of crackling effect of the birch bark. And that's just simply the weave, the texture of the canvas doing the work for you. And in my mind, that's good enough. I'll just leave it like that for the background birch trees. Why not? Excellent. Make sure they're in kind of groups of two or three. They usually look a little better. And already we kind of already got something that, to me, I like that. I'm getting excited already, and we just barely started this painting. Cool. So hopefully you're getting excited too. Can't wait to see your version. It's going to be good. It's going to be really, really good. You know, some days you just start out and you have a good feeling about the composition and whatnot. And doesn't mean it goes smooth, but it's kind of fun to start out and you're kind of already able to picture it. Sometimes I can't picture it real well. And, you know, even though I've got an idea where I want to go, so I'm just like, is this a good idea? Or am I just going crazy? Today, I feel like this is going to be good. We'll see. Famous last words, of course. So now I'm going to grab some blue and white. Honestly, let's grab a little more blue. I want it to be fairly dark, pretty dark. Let's see what this does. Now this area is dry, no medium at all. We did put medium up in the sky, but I'm just going to, and this brush is probably way too small, but it's okay. We'll make it work. It's what I grabbed. We'll make it work. I'm just going to scrub in our background water. This is the background color only. We're going to do a lot more to it. And maybe darker. Yeah, I love the idea of having it fairly dark. Of course, you do one a little lighter as you go back, and a lot of this is going to be reflection of just these different colors here. I'm doing all my blue first because as soon as I start hitting the green, it'll get kind of muddy. So do all your blue first, and I think you'll be happier that way. So now I've got a light blue on the 3/4 flat brush, and this is going to be perfect for adding some details. I think the details are really going to make this water shine. As you can see, just the basic underpainting. I did go ahead and get the shadow, the reflections of some of the shadows of the trees and grass and whatnot in there. Nothing crazy. I think we got a lot of work to go if we want the water to be the feature. And we definitely want the water to be the feature. There's not much else in here. All right, let's see. Don't want it to look like an ocean, but at the same time, it's kind of an ocean technique, isn't it? Now, one thing that I mess up on almost every time I paint water is that I get it sloping one way or the other. And it's due mostly because I don't stand in front of my canvas, I stand to the side. So, I believe that we're just going to have to get my head right in front and hope you guys can see. I think you'll be able to see still around me. There, but anyway, the point in saying that is when you're at home, make sure you're standing square on with your painting. Make sure that these lines are even with the bottom of the canvas. Oh, it's important. Cannot stress that enough. Oh, I like that. Look at that. Pick up a little of that yellow. Bring it over here. We want to have these colors reflecting. In fact, speaking of which, don't worry about the top of your grass. You'll never be able to paint around it. Just go right over it and we'll paint it back in sometime toward the end. But what I was going to say was we're going to reflect things like these yellow trees in here. So this gets you a head start. I like it. I think that works. You'll see even more than normal, I'm being kind of sparing here. I want to leave room for my shadows. We're going to have a lot of beautiful shadows worked in through here. Nice. As we come forward, it is so important to make your strokes bigger, fatter, and with more separation. Nice. Now again, this can look too much like waves, but we're kind of doing a similar stroke. So find a balance somewhere in there, and I think we will be good. Maybe smaller strokes, maybe not so wide. See that? Not so long, I should say. Shorter, choppier strokes. There, that helps to indicate a river versus the ocean, which we don't want. That would really mess somebody up. Imagine painting like this, but then right in the middle you put a big wave. It's just crazy just thinking about it. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it, but I bet you somebody has. Well, now I've got a yellow color, just a light yellow mixed up here. And this is going to, I think, match pretty good. I'm going to carefully, green is fine. Green is obviously welcome, but I don't want a lot of green. I'm going to carefully touch in here. Try to get me a little reflection, but not like a pull down reflection, like just a choppy reflection. This is moving water, and that choppiness really works, I think, to help indicate that, you know. Let's do that. Let's do that. You'll see I did not go up. I had a little shadow, but I didn't go up too much. Most of the shadow's down here. That's kind of important, I think. I think it's kind of important. Helps to create a little depth, you know. Of course, you know, more than one way to do things. You could maybe come back and just blend areas, blend the background if it, you know, comes out too sharp or has too much contrast. Just blend it. Should become more muddy that way and softer. All right. My plan is not to use just this one color. I'm planning to use several, but all kind of in the same color group because I think it'll just add more variety. Now over here, these will be our trees reflected in the water, so we won't want to go too crazy. Yes. Okay, I'll tell you what, let me see, maybe a little more right here. Yeah, there's some. I kind of like to put it on quick and rough, and if you need to go back and smooth it out, you certainly can, but if you put it kind of globby, oh well, a little globby won't hurt anyone. Now let's get maybe, I was going to say the evergreens, but maybe before we do those evergreens, let's just take some white, regular titanium white here, and maybe we need to, if we can, just kind of reflect the tree. I know it's very fast moving water. It's probably not a good thing to reflect the trees too much, but I'm going to just do it there, and if they show in the final product, great. If they don't, that's also great. It's just not going to be that big of a deal. Not going to be a big deal at all. All right. think it's pretty though. I think these little choppy colors, I think they're working. Go down a little further to help blend it all together. Reloading frequently. You see my pile is becoming a little green. I'm gonna throw some red in it. That will help counteract the green that wants to happen. I see red up in my trees here, so I'm perfectly glad to throw some red down in here as well. I think it actually looks better that way. So much of the time, the more variety you add, the better your painting looks. I would say all the time. It is almost impossible to overdo the amount of colors in your painting. You know, the more colors, the better. The more colors, the better, as long as they're all fitting together nicely. You don't want any color that's weird or doesn't help. But changing your color constantly is a big, big secret. Well, not really secret, but like a big thing you can do to enhance your work. There. All right, very pleased, very, very pleased. Starting to look like something. Now, what I'll also do, using the same little flat brush, I'm going to grab just our darks, and I'm going to add in our darks here, same way. And just get the most detail possible out of this water. So now we're going to turn our attention here to the evergreen. Actually, speaking of evergreens, that's not very green. Yeah. And just toss a little highlight on them. We're not going to go super crazy. Let's see, just anything kind of along in here should be just fine. A lot of sap green. A little blue is okay as well. Actually, blue is very, very welcome here today. It separates it from the birch trees or just the other trees in the background. Nice. Of course, the light's pretty straightforward today. It's really not anything super exciting, but it is. It's something to work with at least, I guess, you know. Nice little side angle. I think that works right there. And we can do just a tremendous amount of different colors. You could certainly wipe off the canvas with a shop towel if you feel like there's too much mixing going on here. Yeah, so far for me it's okay. Maybe down here a little thick, but I'm gonna live with it. I want my evergreens a little darker because everything else is kind of vibrant and pops with color, you know, and I think the evergreens being a little dark is fine. Oh, there you go. That's kind of the basic idea here. Sometimes, I don't know, sometimes the basic things here are great. That's all you need. Sometimes a basic little evergreen, and all of a sudden the painting starts to kind of come together. Now, right about here, not that this is any special place, it's just somewhere kind of to the left of center, I am going to place in just an old stump, nothing really, really big. In fact, maybe a little too big. You know, I can always cut it down, it doesn't matter. But this is just a nice old stump, and we'll detail that out, add a little character. I'm not gonna worry too much about it. I just think, you know, hey, let's go with as nice as we can. And I like the idea of adding this little stump. I don't think it'll take much time. I'm going to actually, what I am going to do, I am going to bury it in grass up in here. That's important. There. And we'll just kind of mess around with this, make it a little better here as we go. But that's the general idea. Maybe you could use a highlight. May need to wipe it with a shop towel. It's pretty wet, as you can see. The moment I touch it, it kind of goes mid-tone. That's not really supposed to do that. There. You know what? The whole thing kind of needs some highlight, so we'll probably do it in a minute. I'll just be happy with the way it is for now. Actually, it's really not bad. Maybe, let me see. We might mess around up here as well. Just get some more shadows. I don't know. Just bring in, maybe cut them a little shorter. I like the idea of maybe a little more detail. Maybe these are a little further back and somewhere forward. I like that idea of variation, not detail, variation. There. Yeah, that's interesting. Gotta get excited. Yeah, there we go. Has anybody ever gotten so excited, you know, doing something like that and then right across your painting? I don't think I have. I don't think so. I guess that wouldn't be too much fun, would it? So now I'm going to quickly drop in just a couple rocks. And I think these rocks are really going to make a difference to this painting. I think they're going to be interesting. you know what, I was going to pull down, but that's not this kind of, that'd be like a lake. This is a fast moving or moving river. So we'll want to squiggle instead of pulling down. Pulling down gives you those beautiful mirror reflections. It's so easy to get nice mirror reflections, but today that's not what we're after. All right, look at that. Now you could certainly get in here with a little detail round brush and highlight these when you're done. You can do it with a 3/4 brush. Doesn't really matter, whatever you're comfortable with. You'll see I moved, look at this is important. I moved my stump down because it's so thick and needed to come down. I knew there was something weird with it. That was it. And now it looks correct. It's very important. Oh, it's so important to get stuff like that correct. These, speaking of correct, those blades of grass are too thick. Let's go ahead and thin them out, make them smaller. I need the liner brush here in just a minute. There we go. Now everything's kind of coming together, proportionally coming together. And that is so important. Don't underestimate how important, you know, things like size and scale are to the overall painting. They make a big difference. So anyway, we'll just play around here with some more rocks. Love rocks. I think they add a lot to just about any painting. So, hey, you know what? I've got a lesson on rocks. If you're struggling with rocks and you want a little help practicing, go check out our technique series, Rocks. I think it'll really give you a nice head start if rocks are not maybe your thing. So now I'm going to finish up a lot of this painting with the liner brush. It's going to create better details, I think, and faster than if I were to spend a whole lot longer with other brushes, because the painting is pretty much complete as it is. A lot of the times, this is rare that I will, like, there's nothing going on here in the grass. This is very rare that I would come in and do just liner brush work, but this painting is not normal because of how high the horizon is. I need this foreground to appear more detailed than normal, and so I am going to do it this way. I think it's going to give me the detail I want. I really do. I will, just like anything else, come in with midtones and highlights and shadows and just kind of develop this area into pretty nice little grass patch. It'll set it apart, set it different from the rest of the painting though, because it is done with a liner brush. Probably do a little liner brush over there as well. Nice. Of course, not everything is this one color. This is just my mid-tone color, actually. Just my mid-tone color. We will come back with highlights, shadows, and whatnot here in a bit. It's nice having a really long liner brush to get these bigger grass blades in. You don't have to reload every 3 seconds like you might otherwise have to. Now, this is not, speaking of which, this is not a quick and easy, well, it's not that it's not easy, it's easy. This is not a super quick step. You're going to have to finesse the grass a little bit to get it just the way you like it. It's not going to just appear after 3 or 4 strokes. The idea is, you know, that it's very detailed, a lot going on. I don't know why. I think I was concentrating on thinning my paint down there. Couldn't think of what I was trying to say, but you kind of know what I mean. It's going to really stand out and shine. You'll notice the colors are the same, but it's so crisp. Nice. And same up here. Just thousands and thousands of blades of grass. This may seem daunting at first. I don't think it's going to take all that long. I mean, I'm going to guess. I'm going to make a guess. Then I'm going to be here for about 10 minutes doing liner brush grass, and that is really in the long, oops, I did limbs a minute ago. Just playing around, just did limbs. Isn't painting kind of an adventure? You really never know where you're going to go. You have a plan, but how often do we actually get to exactly where we thought we were going to be? Pretty rare, I would say. Pretty rare. But that's fun of it, isn't it? I think it is. Now, one of the last things I'm going to do is add a final highlight using a liner brush to the rocks. I know it's kind of weird. It's not something that is brand new, but I certainly don't do it much. But why don't I do it much? I mean, it makes sense. You've got a crisp edge, a super soft brush, and it's not like I'm going to go back over these and mess with them, so I don't have to worry about creating mud. If you're not completely sure that, hey, this is the end of the painting, I'm happy with it and I don't want to do anything else to it, if that's not the case, then don't do it with a liner brush. Because once this is thin, once you got this thin paint down on here, you're finished, you're done. until it dries. So you got to put it upstairs for a couple of weeks. Let it dry. Can't touch it. And then you can come back if you need to do something more to it. Because once this thin paint is down, mud is the next stop. So don't mess with it after this. You get 1 or 2 strokes with the liner brush, and that is about it. But as long as you're okay with, hey, I'm pretty much done with this painting and don't want to mess with the rocks anymore, try the liner brush. It can give you a really crisp, sharp detail that I think really works. So, I don't know, just fun. It is so fun to do different techniques. It's fun to mix up the techniques because that'll help you to grow. The more you can change it up on yourself so you don't get in a rut that way. At least I think so. All right. Hey, you'll see this. Watch this. I cleaned off my palette because I knew I was going to do a lot of liner brush work. It was just a bunch of mud. So I cleaned off my palette and put out a few bits of color that I knew I would want. That's pretty important, I think, for this painting. Not always. Usually I just grab whatever, but not today. Today, I'm putting a lot of effort in the liner brush work, again, just for variety, so that you kind of see different ways to go about doing the same or similar effect. All right, enough of the rambling. You get the idea. I'm just filling time while you watch me paint. There you go. If you want to add a couple more of these birch tree limbs up here, you go for it. But add a little detail that way. All right, well, I think we're done. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. Don't forget to check out our website, DVDs, and brush line. Thanks for watching.